All right, well, there has been an interesting turn of events. So old Benny boy, my old roommate, he has wanted to buy my Subaru for a very long time. So I kind of got this car as a project. I did a lot to it. It's got an 03 WRX swap, a nice harness and big brakes, and it's a neat car in a lot of ways. I built like this exhaust for it and tucked it up super high, and basically kind of the build plan with this car and what I tried to do was make it as nice to drive as possible, and it turned out to be a really nice car to drive. Like, you can drive this car around almost like a stock car. It's got BC Racing DS digressive coilovers, so it rides nice, and you can blast over bumps. It doesn't scrape, it doesn't rub. It's a nice car to drive while still being a cool 90s car, and it's a 2000, so it's the 90s styling. It's like the last year of this car, so you get the 90s styling, the 90s feel, but it's just new enough to be that little bit more comfortable that as an older fella, as an adult, you know, you kind of want that comfort. You kind of want it. So anyway, interior is pretty cool. JDM tiger stripe seats, got a bunch of cool little things like this freaking cubby and just cool stuff like that. I put this Momo Daytona wheel in it. It's a nice car. Big Cadillac ATS brakes and hood shocks. That's crucial.
Most important.
You should put hood shocks on every vehicle you own. It is the best thing ever. Seem to make a kit for everything. So yeah, 03 WRX engine, you know, Mishimoto intercooler, Cobb blow-off valve, Cobb 3/4 boost controller. It's got all the good stuff. STI turbo, bigger injector, so it should make it dynoed at like 280, but we had a big exhaust leak. I put a much nicer header on it and got it retuned. It should be making a little over 300 wheel right now, and it is real solid at that power level because the car weighs exactly 2,800 pounds. So 2,800 pounds, 300 wheel, all-wheel drive. It's a good little car. I really like this thing, and Ben really likes this thing for the same reasons. The fact that it's such a nice car to drive around, but you still get that fun of like driving around in a 90s car, because we love our 90s shit boxes. I mean, that's just, it is what it is. But it gets to a point where you kind of don't really like driving them that much because they suck. Whereas this car, you know, it's a good middle ground. So because of that, you know, Ben had ridden in it, driven it, and he's been hounding me to buy it for a long time, right? Yeah, pretty much ever since I got it kind of sorted. And we've always joked about it, and I was like, I don't know if I ever want to sell this thing. But the problem is I've kind of gotten to the end of the ropes with this car. There's not much more I can do without really ruining it. Because if I were to go crazier power-wise or do this or do that, it would just kind of ruin it. The car is really like perfect as it is right now. So I've thought about if I would get rid of it. And then we were at my buddy's shop, and they had a car that's a bucket list car that I have always wanted. Joked around about it, and Ben's like, hey man, I'm down to buy the old Subs, and for the money from the Subs I can buy this car. And yeah, so we talked about it and we did it. So funny enough, we got the car here right now. Let me show you. Dun 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 dun. Gotta fix my garage door. Dun dun. Yeah, it does that. I got it. Ta-da! Sorry, dramatic reveal. Boom! So for those of you who don't know what this is a Nissan Pulsar GTIR. This is a cool little car. Again, I have always wanted one. It just so happened that a friend of a friend was selling it locally. I mean, he literally had it on his trailer to take it back to his friend's house, and I was like, hey, I'm ready to buy it. Ben bought the Subaru, and he's like, well, I'll drop it off. And literally, like within 30 minutes, I sold the Subaru. Ben paid me, and then this car was dropped off here. It was a real funny situation, like just how it all panned out, right? So anyway, let me back this thing out of the garage. Both cars are very dirty, so keep that in mind. And we'll kind of take a look at them side by side, and I'll go over this car and show you guys, you know, what it is and what's done to it. I gotta say, it's cool seeing him drive that. I know how much he's really liked that car, and we'll get into it. I mean, a big reason why I was willing to do this and willing to get rid of the Subaru, willing to buy this, you know, one, I wanted this, but two, that way me and Ben both could have some cool turbo all-wheel drive cars. A little more, stop. cool seeing you drive this thing.
Yeah.
I definitely got to like stand on the side of the road and you do a flyby. I've never got to hear what it sounds like from outside the car.
Let's do it, brother.
All right.
Sounds good.
It does, especially full rip mode.
It's not like the best sounding car ever.
No. All right, so that's the basic rundown on that thing. You know, all your basic bolt-ons, yada yada. So this car, again, Nissan Pulsar. So this is a turbo all-wheel drive hatchback, and that one of the big reasons for buying this car is that ticks all the boxes for me. You know, turbo car, all-wheel drive car, and a hatchback all rolled into one. I've always wanted, you know, a hot hatch, something like this, and I've always wanted one of these in particular. So, you know, when the deal popped up, I just couldn't pass it up. Now, it is nowhere near, it's definitely not as nice as the Subaru. The Subaru's got like beautiful paint on it from Adam. Again, it's dirty. The body is mint. The underneath of this car is like incredibly clean. No undercoating missing. The pinch welds are all good. So this definitely isn't as nice of a car, but it is in theory cooler.
Like a Miata version of the Subaru. You know what I mean? Because it's like small, it runs 15.
Yeah.
5s, they look meaty.
Yeah, it is like the Miata version. The cool thing is it's 4x100, like my Miata is, so I could share wheels between my Miata. But yeah, so this is, like I said, obviously a hatchback. We'll go under the hood first. The hood pops a little rough. Doesn't have hood shocks. Need to get some hood shocks for it. So it has a front wheel drive style with distributor SR20 DET turbo. So from what I understand, I'm not super familiar with all the differences in this engine compared to a rear wheel drive SR, compared to like the good SR20 VE. But the coolest nerd factor is it does have ITBs, which, you know, doesn't make a difference, probably not, but it gets me excited. I love ITBs. I've always wanted something with ITBs, and it's got ITBs factory. I believe it's solid lifter. Same rocker arm style as the normal SR, but with solid lifters. You know, I would like to do like a turbo upgrade to it. It's already got a nice front mount intercooler setup. We might change up some of the piping. It just seems a little extravagant. I think I could, you know, tuck it through here or something, but you know, there's some things I want to change. There's some things that need to be cleaned up. You know, like the car is, again, not perfect. It's got BCs on it already. I'll probably swap to DS shocks. Catch can needs to be relocated just because it's having some little issues there. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty basic under here. It's got AC. It's got an aftermarket radiator. Again, aftermarket intercooler piping. Wrinkle black. I mean, you got to love wrinkle black. I guess that's pretty much it. There's honestly a lot of room under here. I was kind of surprised. Like doing a turbo swap would be a freaking cake. The thing is right there, which is quite nice. HKS super sequential blow-off valve, dude. Okay, moving on to the inside. This is probably the coolest part of this car. It's obviously right-hand drive. This one has the GTIR steering wheel, which I guess back in the day was like $1,000 option. It has a freaking umbrella. Like, how cool is that? I thought that was the coolest thing when I first found out about this. Nissan umbrella goes into the door, well, into the side of the car. Boom, boom. Freaking umbrella. Like, I know, again, silly stuff, but it gets you hyped. I like the seats. They're a nice bolstered seat. Cool 90s kind of style. And it's got the Pulsar factory floor mats. Over on this side, it's got like the factory roadside flare over here. Big old glove box. It's neat. It's got a oil temp gauge, oil pressure gauge, and then a boost gauge factory. It's got all those 3 gauges factory. AC is nice and cold. Like, you know, everything seems to work on it like it should. I haven't been as thorough as I would checking out any other car, but I like this little dash compartment up here. It's the little things that are fun about these 90s cars. They give them so much character. Like with the Subaru it's got a cup holder up here. Like, I didn't even know this existed when I first got the car. A slide out cup holder. I mean, I spent a lot of time on this car. You know, I bought the right parts. I made sure it was dialed, and it's pretty much like 98% dialed in. There's some little things that Ben will have to do, like getting the right rear door harnesses and just some little stuff like that. But the car, for the most part, is a really good driver. So the plan is to replace it with this and make this a really good driver too. But to do that, we're gonna have to do a little bit of work to it, which is kind of the whole point, as weird as that may sound. Kind of the whole point. Yeah, and just having something different, trying something different. I'm really excited about it. Again, I've got some turbo upgrade stuff planned. I don't plan to go crazy with it. I'd like to make like 300, 350 wheel and just have it as a good driver, because that car feels amazing at that power level. You know, like 300 wheel. It doesn't need to be crazier than that. It's not going to be some insane thing. Just a nice, fun car to go rip around on and drive and enjoy driving. You know, you can hop in, drive wherever you want with the AC on and feel like you're in a normal car, but have the fun of being in a modified car. So, yeah, pretty solid little guy. The exhaust is kind of cool. It like points out this direction, and it goes over the rear diff and axles and subframe. I'm assuming that's like a bolt-on thing. You can see it come down there and then boom, goes over. Oh, this car also has upgraded, which are like downgraded sway bars. I guess these cars had too big of sway bars from the factory, and basically made them really, really snappy and oversteer happy. And there's a company in Australia that makes, or it's like some OEM ones or something, anyway, some smaller ones, and it makes them handle a lot better. But they're obviously expensive, so it's cool that it already has that. It's already got, you know, like race pads and rotors. Not as good as the old ATS brakes on that thing, but maybe that's something we'll address. But again, there's stuff that can be done and needs to be done to this car, which is kind of the whole point in getting it. It's been a bucket list car. You know, it's one of those cars I've always wanted. And it just happened to pop up local, friend from a friend, and I couldn't pass it up, especially since Ben wanted to buy the Subaru. It was like, it was meant to be. Yeah, it all worked out. And again, if any one of these pieces of this puzzle to end up with this car were missing, I probably wouldn't do it. But the fact that Ben will now have a turbo all drive car, I know the car's sorted. I know he'll have fun with that. I know he'll really enjoy it. We can both take both cars up to the Dragon, the tail of the Dragon, and rip them together. You know, all of that combined is what makes me so excited about doing this. So now, turbo all-wheel drive, freaking tail of the Dragon rippers is what we've got right here. But yeah, so I'm excited. I'm gonna go through this car and just kind of, I'm sure there's some little stuff I'll need to address before the trip, and then we're going to take them both up the tail of the Dragon. We know this car is good to go and ready to rip, but this car definitely, I'm sure there's going to be some little odds and ends that we need to take care of.
Yeah, I'm just really excited to try turbo all-wheel drive, like go into a corner fast
Right.
and just floor it. And, like,
It's so
ride
fun.
out.
It's so fun. It's such a cool feeling. You know, coming from the world of rear-wheel drive, had rear-wheel drive cars, you know, so many of them. And you know, you have to roll into the throttle coming out of the corner. You got to be ginger on it, especially if it makes decent power. As with the all-wheel drive car, I mean, it may not be faster or anything, but it's fun because you can kind of duck into the corner and get about halfway through it, start rolling into it to get the boost to come on. And then the boost comes on and you just like dig your way out of the corner. It's a cool sensation. It feels really cool, and they're fun to drive, man. They're fun cars to drive. So you know, it's cool for us both to end up with one, basically. So yeah, nothing left to it. We've already explained it. I've got some better tires for it. I'm excited about. I might throw some different wheels on it. These are Volks, but I don't know. We'll see. I might go through my wheel collection and see if there's anything I want to put on here. And yeah, so now we've covered the car. It's time to go drive it. It's definitely like really crisp throttle with the ITBs. Could just be placebo effect. Good, it's real smooth. didn't burn out across this intersection. It's like the quarter throttle feels so nice. I'm digging it. Might as well go drive it. It's Ben's car now, so we'll have him drive it.
We're at that decision, boys.
Already feels nicer. Gotta shift it a little less aggressive than that, but if you don't want to blow the transmission out of it.
You trying to rip or what?
It's not a drift car. It's not gonna spin the tires when you bang second.
That's true. It's a ripper, dude.
Yeah, dude, it's pretty quick.
Yeah, no, it really is.
Like it's pretty. Like it gets down
It really is.
for like what it is. It rips.
You're like, oh, like 300. That's not that fast.
It just moves.
But like
and
driving it, it's just like, woo.
that's what I'm saying. It's like the perfect amount of power for like back roads ripping and stuff.
Yeah, because it's fast enough to be scary, but not like
Yeah.
actually fast.
Yeah, and not so crazy where it's just gonna break all the time. You feel it spin the fronts.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what's so fun. Like when you come out of a corner and you like lose some grip and you feel the front spinning, but you're still like booking it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Super comfortable. And the brakes are freaking insane.
Yeah, I was gotta do the Taylor.
Brakes are nuts.
Yeah.
FYI.
And like that's like no pedal pressure.
You
Like
you
nothing.
think you're like, okay, I'm gonna wait till the last second to hit the brakes going into this stop. It's so
Yeah.
funny.
I don't know. It's just like the perfect street car to me.
Yeah, that really is solid. And now I love doing just like that quarter throttle, like just get it into boost.
Yeah, because it still picks up. And then like you said earlier, like when you floor it, it's still got a lot more left.
Yeah, because you're like, wow, this thing's peppy, and then it's like you can floor it, and it's actually like way peppier. It sounds so cool when it like hits the full rip mode.
Yeah, yeah. Like above like 4,500.
Yeah, it's like.
It's like, all right.
All right, well, I would say the Subaru is definitely more dialed as a nice street car. This thing definitely has more of like the cool fun factor. They're both different, but both very similar. It's kind of funny. I'm excited to embark on the journey with this car and fix it up and do stuff and upgrade it. I'm really excited for the Dragon trip with both of these cars. I'm just excited for us both to have turbo all-wheel drive rippers. We can take them to the firm, go do track days and stuff. Like, I'm excited to see Ben really enjoy this car.
Super fun.
Like, I think I would have a hard time getting rid of this car if it weren't going to Ben, just because I know he'll enjoy it and I'll at least get to still see it. I've put a lot of time into this car. It's funny because it's simple, you know, it's like almost like stockish, like OEM plus, but I had the whole interior out of this car, the whole wiring harness, had the engine out, took the engine apart, you know, I've done a lot to this car. So it's the first car that I've done this much to in a long time that I'm getting rid of. It's definitely a weird feeling. I don't know if it's sunk in yet, but again, it's like that whole domino effect of everything falling into place, like getting rid of this straight to get this. Like, I don't know if I would have gone out and bought this if I just, you know, didn't have this, but since it's like rolling the money from this into that, it works out. And I don't know, should be a fun journey for both me and Ben.
Yeah.
We both get some cool new cars and we get to have some fun. So anyway, I guess that's going to be it for this video. Again, lots more to come on the Pulsar. I'm sure Ben will be working on the old Subs and we're going to go rip them together. But for now, that's going to be it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Goodbye.